If you're new to the market space and have been doing research, or you have been doing markets for a while, you know that slow markets are markets you want to avoid if you plan on making sales or even networking. Let's talk about how to avoid these low traffic events. Hey y'all, my name is Ari. I am the owner of Petal Pink Gems, where I sell bookmarks, accessories, earrings, and claw clips. I have been in business for about a year now, and I have done almost 20 markets, 20 or so markets so far. And I have learned so much with my time of doing markets. I have a few takeaways on how to discern if a market is going to be slow or not. Y'all, a slow market is a market that you want to avoid ultimately if you are really wanting to see either sales or you want to network and get your name up there. Slow markets, slow craft fairs, slow pop-ups are so stressful. Like, I've literally gone to markets where there is literally crickets. Very minimal sales. It is not fun. It's not a good experience. It's not. And honestly, a lot of people were telling me like, markets are hit or miss. Sometimes they're slow. It's really hard to predict if a market is slow. And honestly, I went a really long time without experiencing any type of slow market. So whenever I hit a few slow markets here recently, it was really defeating. It made me second guess my products. I reflected on my value a lot, which I know is something that I'm not supposed to do, y'all. But being human, being someone who is being vulnerable and putting themselves out there as a small business owner, it is really easy to see your value through just customer experience and people buying your products. I noticed that each of these slower events has some similarities, and I have taken note of those similarities, and today we'll be discussing them. So without further ado, let's get into it. With events that are often slower, a lack of marketing is the number one identifier that I've seen here recently. So what does a lack of marketing look like? A lack of marketing can look like lack of a social media presence. They're not promoting this specific pop-up on their own socials. Basically, they're banking on other vendors bringing in customers. That is a red flag, y'all. Some of the most successful events that I have personally worked, the hosts have personally created different flyers for the vendors to share on their social media, to print out. And these are all green flags. These are all things that you want the host to do. It's like they're wanting everyone to get the word out, because it's just not going to be them who you should be banking on getting the word out. You yourself should want to be putting the word out too, to market the event as well. But it is so important to make sure that the host is also marketing and marketing well. Another indicator that an event is going to be slower is last minute vendor recruitment. Oh, y'all. If someone is reaching out to you a week or so before the event and asking if you want to be a vendor, from my experience, this event likely will be slow. Events that have high traffic, events that a lot of people are anticipating, has a long vendor wait list. I kid you not. So if a host is reaching out to you last minute and you haven't already applied to this event, this is just them reaching out to you, I would say more times than not that this event is going to be slower. I will say that it is very important to go back to my very first point of lack of marketing. So if you see that there is heavy marketing around this event and it's highly anticipated, of course, attend the event if you would like to. But if you're seeing that it's slower traffic, not much engagement, I would say to steer clear from this type of event. Another indicator that an event is going to be slower is no social media presence or a Facebook only host. Y'all, social media is such a huge piece of marketing, of allowing people to know that an event is happening. And from my experience, whenever people are only using flyers and word of mouth, the event isn't as busy as you would want or what I would want. I would say anything where a social media presence isn't there from a host, a lot of eyes aren't going to be on the event. It's probably going to be a lot of just passerbys coming to the event, or people who know the vendors, and more times than not, this is slow. Like, a lot of people don't know about it. It's not a lot of traffic being driven to this event because either one, the flyers, and not a lot of people are having access or even seeing these flyers, or two, it's a Facebook only type of event. So the hosts are only using Facebook as a marketing tool. And don't get me wrong, Facebook is a really good marketing tool, but there is a specific type of clientele, I would say, or specific type of customer base that comes from Facebook. And just to be frank, this is typically older people. Your target audience, if your ideal customer isn't an older crowd, I would steer clear from a Facebook only host. Instagram is such a great tool for different hosts to really showcase events that they have. I've seen so many different hosts from other states that have really big platforms on social media. I feel like one is like Girl Gang Craft or something like that. I've seen them, and I live all the way in Kansas. So it's like their marketing is reaching me in Kansas. And if I'm right, they're located in California. So it's like, wow, that's some good marketing if I'm seeing and wanting to attend an event and I'm all the way in another state. That being said, a host that has a very large social media presence, a very good marketing strategy, that in the long run is going to benefit you. Whereas a host that doesn't really have much of a social media presence or any type of crowd or engagement, that probably isn't going to be a high traffic event. That being said, another indicator that an event is going to be slower is lack of engagement on a Facebook event. What I do like about Facebook events is you can see how many people are interested and how many people are actually going. And that is a huge indicator on if an event is going to be slow or not. A few events that I have been a part of, the Mushroom Festival, and if you have been following along for a while, you know that the Mushroom Festival has been my most successful event so far. And I remember the Facebook event saying that so many people were interested, and I was like, okay, like this might be my best market yet. And it was. So many people came, so many people were interested, and I got a lot of those details from the Facebook event. Another indicator is it being too cold and it's an outdoor market, or it being spring and an event is inside. What I've come to find out is if it is a bitter cold day, specifically in the state that I live in, people are not going to be outside wanting to shop. So any events that are specifically outside in November, December, January, or early February, I tend to avoid because of experience and seeing that these events are slower because it's cold outside. I live in the Midwest, so this is all depending on where you live, of course, and how the climate is. I will say to be mindful of the months that you work inside and the months that you work outside. Another thing that I've seen is an event being hosted in the spring, and this spring event was indoors. Everybody was outside. Nobody was inside during this beautiful spring day, so traffic was extremely slow. So I will say anything late April, early May, to make sure you are outside enjoying that early spring. Going into the summer months, like late July, early August, be mindful of how hot it will be depending on your climate. Not saying not to do these events, but if an event is running from, let's say, 11 to 4, that's the heat of the day. I would avoid that because the traffic probably isn't going to be as high because it's hot outside. But if you're doing like a farmer's market event and the event lasts from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m., I would say that that's an ideal time, and people are likely going to be outside during that early morning, early afternoon. You have to have discernment with these type of events, and just knowing your climate, knowing your customer base, and just being familiar with how your city moves. If people like to be outside or if people like to be inside, what does your climate look like? Another indicator that an event is going to be slower is a lack of a theme. I have found that themed events perform so well. For example, like what I was talking about, the mushroom themed festival, that was amazing. Anything that is themed after like holidays, like Christmas or fall, they tend to be very, very high performing, high traffic events. I love those high traffic events because I know that I'm not going to be wasting my time. I know that people are coming out looking for specific things. They are wanting to talk about different things. They're either looking for gifts or they're passionate about the thing. So I would definitely say that if you are wanting to be a part of a higher traffic event, to definitely look for events that have a theme. Last but not least, another indicator that an event is going to be slower is if it is hosted on the same day as a highly anticipated event. With this specific point, you definitely have to be engaged with your community. You have to know what events are happening, when they're happening, where they're happening. For example, for one event that I went to recently, it was a book fair, and this was an event that happened early in the spring, and it was the same exact day as a season opener for a huge event. And for whatever reason, or I know the reason, I sell bookmarks, so I thought that this specific event was going to be great for what I sold, not really thinking that this was the same day as a season opener of a huge market in my city. All that being said, the market that I went to, the book fair theme market, was very slow because it was early spring, everybody was outside, and this event was indoors, it wasn't marketed well. It just didn't compete to another highly anticipated market that everybody was going to. All that being said, definitely do your research, know what events are happening when, know where your clients are going to be, know where your community is going to be. Really just sit back and try to get a vision of where you could see people going to. Are they going to be at this market that is newer, a lot of people don't know about, or are they going to be at this highly anticipated market? Hope y'all enjoyed this video about 7 tips that I have gathered that will determine if your market is going to be slow or not. Hopefully you never run into the issue of having a slow market, but if you do, I hope that you can take away some key learning points as I have, and you can help the next person who is in the vendor world. If this video helped you out in any way, please go ahead and like and comment, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see y'all next time. Bye.